Hi, my little babies. Welcome back to another episode of What the Smut Book Reviews. I swear, every week I just get weirder and weirder. Is that possible? I want to say no. And yet, somehow, I do. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, hi, my name is Candace. I'm your host. Thank you for joining me. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I appreciate you. I appreciate you because you're the real MVPs. We're here. Okay. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing a book. This book, I knew what I was getting myself into because I knew. You guys know me, and I don't do cliffhangers as a rule. I steer clear of cliffhangers. Why? Because I need my HEA. And because life is short, right? And like I can't conceive of the notion of devoting 300-400 pages to a couple, for it to end on a cliffhanger, and me realize, oh my God, I have to devote another 400 pages to the same couple before I get my HEA? What? So I try and steer clear of like duets, trilogies, quadrilogies, however many books is 5. I'm looking at you, Lucia Franco. Okay. I steer clear of books like that. I try and do character standalones, series, but that have one book per couple. One book. Uno buque. I don't think that's real Spanish, but you get the gist. So when I picked up this book, I knew what I was getting myself into because you can't read dark romance and have a Bookstagram account and not have seen these books floating around. They've literally, from the time of their creation, been shoved in your face like this, like that, right? And typically with those types of books, I steer clear of those too because I'm immediately like, Overly hyped books, I'm also like, nah. Especially if it comes from Book Talk. If it comes from Book Talk, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself because no. Yes, I know Book Talk. As an author, Book Talk is where the money's at, and that's how you get famous and okay, whatever. Book Talk is a bunch of shills. They'll sell themselves for a pretty penny, okay? A lot of them, the majority of them. So, no. When I go in Walmart or Barnes and Nobles and I see the books with the stupid stickers on them that say, made famous by Book Talk, trash. Put it in the trash. Okay, put it in the trash. However, these books, for the most part, I saw nothing but good things written about. The reviews, very promising. I typically only take recs from trusted sources. When I say trusted sources, I don't mean like trusted sources like Goodreads or like, no. I mean people I know, like friends, people close to me, right? People that I know have like minds when it comes to reading. We like the same books. So if you're reading it and you liked it, I know I'll like it, right? That type of thing. So with these books, I I saw several of my friends reading them and they loved it. And I was like, okay, I think it's time. It's time. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to shut up and I'm going to do it. And so I did. It helped that right around that time, she released the audio, which, as you guys know, I needed because I spend my life in the car. I'm literally an Uber driver, okay? Not literally, but I might as well be. So here we are. So without further ado, kiddos, in today's video, as seen in the thumbnail, we will be reviewing the first half of H.T. Carlton's, what is it? Cat and Mouse Duet? I think that's what it's called. The Cat and Mouse Duet. The first half is called Haunting Adeline. Now, very spooky cover, right? You got your little spooky skull. You got some very gothic looking butterflies. Now, I'm going to turn this book sideways and you're going to see what I had to deal with, okay? Look at it. This is literally half the width of my face, and I got a big fucking face. This book, according to Amazon, and yeah, we're gonna do this a little bit early because, according to Amazon, this book has 605 pages. According to my physical copy, 583. So even though Amazon is a bunch of fucking liars, which we already know, 583 pages is nothing to sneeze at. This is also only the first half of this story. Yes, this book ends on a cliffhanger. There is a part 2 of this duet that is even thicker than this one. Call the paramedics. I need an ambulance. So yeah, today we will be reviewing this book. And I thought I was going to do this in half an hour. We're already 10 minutes in, and I haven't even given you the details of the book, much less read you the blurb or broken it down. Candace, you are a joke. You're literally a joke. So let's just plow ahead, shall we? Let's just do that. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to talk about the deets for the book. This book and its companion, part 2, are both free to read with KU. Okay? If you want to purchase this book for your Kindle, this book costs $4.99. If you want this lovely, chunky boy of a trade paperback, look at that. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's stunning, isn't it? Like, the cover is stunning. If you want this trade paperback, you can get it for the price of $15.01. Ignore that. That's acorns hitting my roof. $15.01. That's crazy, yo. Now, I don't know if that is like a sale price right now, or if that's going to be the permanent price. But $15 for this guy? That's a steal. That's a fucking steal. That's a bargain. If you want this in hardcover, yes, Amazon, it is available in hardcover. You can get it printed hardcover from Amazon. It will not come with a dust jacket. It will have the image printed on the hardcover. However, you can get it in hardcover for $21.71. Okay? Now, let's talk about the audio. The first half of the duet is available in audio. The second half is not. has not come out yet. This audiobook is duly narrated, which, first of all, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, because if it had been like singly narrated or whatever the fuck that's called, no, I would have been like, why? Duly narrated, thank you. Thank you, HD Carlton, thank you. It's narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Michelle Sparks. If you listen to audiobooks, if you're a connoisseur of ear porn like I am, Michelle Sparks is the narrator who voiced Sloane and Riley from JT Geisinger's Queens and Monsters series. So what the hell is it? Declan's book. What the fuck was the name of it? I forget. Carnal Urges. Carnal Urges and Savage Hearts. So yeah, and Teddy Hamilton, not right off the top of my head, I can't remember like other books that he's narrated, but I have heard him in a ton of other things, and his voice, even though he sounds perpetually aggressive, that's literally the only way that I can describe it. Like, he sounds angry all the time. His voice is very hot. Like, just the timbre of his voice, and it works so well in this book because it's a stalker romance. So he does a really good job. He does a good job. So yeah. So for the audio portion of this book, she did a really good job picking the narrators. Chef's kiss. So I would highly recommend the audio for this book. I did listen to it, and it's very well done. Very well done. Okay. So I already gave you the page numbers, so we're not going to do that again. I mean, we all know Amazon lies. We all know they're a bunch of liars. So we're going to move on. Well, let's read the blurb, shall we? Let me pick the dictionary back up. I will read you guys the blurb, and then we'll break it down. And yeah, you'll be free of me. Let's see. So as you can see, it's from two POVs here. So the first one is from someone called the Manipulator, which is the main female character. And then underneath here, you have the Shadow, which is the main male character. Okay. So the Manipulator. I can manipulate the emotions of anyone who lets me. I will make you hurt, make you cry, make you laugh and sigh. But my words don't affect him, especially not when I plead for him to leave. He's always there, watching and waiting, and I can never look away, not when I want him to come closer. Part 2, the Shadow. Okay. I didn't mean to fall in love, but now that I have, I can't stay away. I'm mesmerized by her smile, by her eyes, and the way she moves, the way she undresses. I'll keep watching and waiting until I can make her mine. And once she is, I'll never let her go, not even when she begs me to. Okay, trigger warning for this review and for the book itself. Check trigger warnings for this book. Okay. Also, I give massive spoilers in every one of my videos. I literally tell you the entire plot of the book. Okay? Before we move forward, I want you to know, trigger warning for this video, this book has a lot of triggers. There's serious dubcon, some non-con, a whole slew of other triggers. Just if you have triggers, just be warned that, yeah, this book has trigger warning. So check check the author's website for trigger warnings for this book. I'm not entirely sure they're on there, but hopefully she did her due diligence. I don't know. I didn't write the book. I'm not responsible for what she did and didn't do. Okay. Moving on. Let's discuss, shall we? The two main characters for this book are Adeline and Zaid. Now, Zaid, his name doesn't actually come to light until a good ways into the book. He's literally labeled at the forefront of every chapter, every one of his chapters, as the Shadow. Likewise, at the forefront of all of Adeline's chapters, she's labeled as the Manipulator. The reason that she's called the Manipulator is because she is a romance novelist. She's a writer. So we're reading a romance novel about a romance novelist. In said romance novel, this romance novelist is being stalked by a guy. Now, Adeline has recently inherited what you'd call a mansion. Oh, they call it a manor, like a manor house. It's called Parsons Manor, and it's essentially a big old drafty mansion that sits up on top of a hill in a town somewhere, I don't know, I can't remember. And it's rumored to be haunted. It's a very spooky house. It's a big, old, creepy Gothic mansion. Okay, so just in your brain, picture the house from Haunted Mansion, Disney's Haunted Mansion. We're just gonna throw that out there because I don't know what the fucking house looks like. We're gonna sub it with that, okay? So picture that. And then let's just say that's the house. So she owns this house. She inherited it from her grandmother. Her mother's still alive. Her mother is a real estate agent who is, let's be honest, a bitch. And wants her to sell the house because she doesn't understand why her mother had such a fond attachment to the house when turns out her grandmother, now this would be Adeline's great-grandmother, her mom's grandma, was murdered in the house. Surprise! Your great-grandma was murdered in the house. Okay. Adeline does not know that at the beginning of the book. She finds that out into the book. So Adeline is 26. She's a smart mouth. Let's put it that way. She's very brash. She's a take no prisoners, ballsy little smart mouth. She has a best friend, Daya, who is a hacker. Daya works for the dark web. Daya's on the dark web. She works very secretly for an organization called Z, which essentially is like an organization created by this guy, Z, to take down like sex traffickers. Daya is one of many, 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 many hackers that are part of this network that are doing good in this organization, trying to take down like child sex rings and things like that. She doesn't know her boss. She's never met her boss. She doesn't know who she works for technically. She just knows that it's this person named Z. Okay, cool. So Adeline, or Addie, as she is more affectionately called, is in her little town and is one day giving a signing. She's at a signing at the local bookstore in the town where she lives. And she sees a man. She glimpses a man standing at the back of the bookstore. And he's staring at her. And she's immediately kind of like taken aback because he's just staring at her. He's not coming closer. He's not trying to get his book signed. He's not, he doesn't glance away when they make eye contact. He's just there. And, the crowd is like coming up and rushing to the table, and there's a line forming, and, she only gets like a small glimpse at him, but he's very good looking. Except he has like some facial scars, and he has 2 different color eyes, which are very startling to look at. He has one scar that dissects over across one eye, which causes that eye to be, I'm not sure if the scar itself or the whatever caused the scar, the cut, is what caused the eye to be lighter in color, but that eye is lighter in color, and the other eye is darker in color. So he has 2 different color eyes. And so he has a very arresting face, shall we say, but he's still very good looking. He's very hot. And he's staring at her. Well, after the eye contact is broken because someone comes up to the table to get the thing signed, he disappears, and she doesn't think anything else of it until later, when even then she doesn't make the connection for quite a while. But shortly after that, she's at her house, and she starts receiving roses. And she realizes that someone is breaking into her home and leaving these flowers behind. They're showing up in places like her kitchen, like on the island of her kitchen, or, just random in her bedroom, just random places, and a single red rose each time. I think that once he sends her a lot of flowers, but I can't remember. But when she comes to the realization that he's somehow managing to get inside her house, she becomes very freaked out. Her friend Daya is more of the party girl and attempts to get her to come out. She is more of the homebody. She wants to stay in her house. She likes her house. Her house is a dreary, very, very spooky, like haunted mansion. And she likes it that way. She feels a connection to the house the same way that her grandmother felt a connection to the house. And she feels that way because she feels the connection to her grandma there. Her grandma felt that way because she felt a connection to her mother there. The house is allegedly haunted by the ghost of her great-grandmother, Gigi. Now, she finds out later that her great-grandmother was murdered in the house, and that murder has remained unsolved this entire time. She finds that out after she finds out that her great-grandmother was also being stalked by someone. So one night, Daya has basically like taken her phone and sexted one of her old contacts that she used to fuck around with, and in an attempt to get her to break her dry spell. It worked. because she sets up a meeting, a booty call, basically, with this guy, who is a dick, by the way. He comes out to the house. They start to make out. She realizes why she stopped talking to him in the first place, because he's a conceited prick. And she goes to kick him out of the house. And he gets angry and he punches a hole in her wall. And she turns around and kicks him out of the house, literally naked, wearing like one sock. Gathering up his clothes, she kicks him out of the house naked with one sock on. When she goes back to inspect the hole in the wall, she realizes there is a lot of space between this wall and the wall of the adjoining room on the other side. There's too much space between these two walls. There shouldn't be that much space. And so she like tries to peek through the hole, and she manages to use her phone as a flashlight and look both ways. And sure enough, down towards like the left side, she sees what looks like a safe protruding from the wall. She backs up and she sees that it's right at the spot where there is a picture of her great-grandma Gigi on the wall. She goes down, she moves the picture. There is a safe behind the photo. When she eventually breaks into the safe, the only thing she finds inside are several journals written by Gigi. The journals were written during a period of time when, literally just prior to Gigi's murder, when she was being stalked by a man, that she eventually ended up falling in love with, and then she got killed. So Adeline assumes that the stalker is who killed her, because the end of the journal just basically says, he came for me. And then it cuts off. There's nothing else after that. Who came for you? That was the last entry. And then literally, I think she died like the next day. So during the course of the book, at least this first half, there is a main storyline, and then there is a side storyline of Adeline and Daya attempting to solve the murder of her great-grandmother and who killed her. So I was actually very interested in the parallel plot lines running at the same time. I thought it made for a really juicy, like very full-bodied story. And I guess that's why the book is nearly 600 pages, because there's a lot going on. But to get down to the actual main plot line, so Adeline, shortly after she boots conceited prick from the house, she starts receiving the roses. When she calls the police and she tells them, they blow her off, obviously. You got a flower, okay, whatever. It continues to happen. Then she starts seeing a man in a hoodie outside of her window. Not close, but at like the tree line of where the woods begin. And it freaks her out, obviously. There's a fucking man standing outside my house. Call fucking cops. So she calls the cops. By the time they get there, he's gone. They think she's crazy. They file a report. Okay, ma'am, here's your report, here's your case number, right? Okay. It happens several times. He keeps coming back. And he's just standing there watching her. But there's something inside of her that's getting almost like a sick type of thrill out of being watched. And she realizes, yes, I'm fucked up. There's something wrong with me. that I kind of like this. Or that I get excited. Is it exhilaration? Or is it terror that I'm feeling? I'm not sure. So then she starts almost looking forward to him showing up. And when he shows up, she begins to almost like egg him on. At one point, she has Daya install new locks, help her install new locks on the house. He still gets in. She has her put in security cameras inside the house and around the house. He manages to get in and out without being spotted on the cameras. How you do that? How are you doing that? Right? At one point, he gets her cell phone number and he begins to text her from an unknown number. Little taunting messages. And he starts referring to her as his little mouse. And he'll send her messages like, I'll be seeing you soon, little mouse. Shit like that. And it's pissing her off. Like, honestly, it's pissing her off because you're literally stalking me. And there's nothing I can do about it. And she's getting mad. So at one point he shows up and she actually gets angry enough to go outside and confront him. And he just stands there. When she realizes that he's close enough that he could literally take a knife and shank her, she's like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? But I mean, you're in it now. It's too late. It's too late now. So what are you going to do? But he doesn't do anything. He just stands there and lets her berate him. And then he like has like a little smirk on his face. And it makes her even more angry. And so he continues to taunt her. One night, Daya convinces her to go out to a club. They go out. She's there. They're dancing. They get approached by a group of guys. They go up to a VIP section. She gets a text. Don't let that man touch you. If he puts his hands on you, I'll send them to you in the mailbox. She's like, okay, freak. Chill out. On the one hand, she's kind of scared that he might actually do it. On the other hand, she's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. And she's defiant enough that she says, fuck you, I'm taking him home anyway. And she does. She takes him back to her house. And in a bid for, in her subconscious and her sick subconscious, takes him into the sunroom that's all windows. And she starts making out with him. She's putting on a display. She knows what she's doing. And she knows that he's out there somewhere watching her. All of a sudden, there's a giant, like a loud banging at the door. The guy goes and is like, are you expecting somebody? She's like, no. Well, he rights his clothing and goes to the door and answers the door. He doesn't come back. She follows, goes outside, and finds nothing but a pool of blood outside of her house. The guy's gone. She doesn't know where he is or what happened to him. He's just gone. And on her porch is the mangled mess of what was once a single red rose. And she knows, fuck, she's in trouble. She does call the police when he disappears from her porch and the blood is there. The cop tells her, the sheriff, she calls the sheriff. The sheriff is not the same police officer who has come out to her house to make the previous reports. But he tells her that there are no reports of any stalking down at the station in her file. That there's no reports of her being stalked down at the station. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have literally filed so many reports. And he's like, there's nothing down there about you being stalked. And when she tells him the name of the guy she brought home, he tells her, he's like, do you know who that is? And she's like, no, what do you mean? And he proceeds to tell her that this guy that she brought home is actually a member of a crime syndicate. He's like a member of one of the biggest like crime families in the city. And he's a really bad dude. And he's been arrested multiple times for like domestic violence against his wife. His ex-wife he nearly killed. And he's like a giant runner of like cocaine. And he's not a nice dude. And so technically her stalker may have done her a favor by getting rid of this guy, which doesn't appease her conscience much. But he says, if I make a report saying he was with you when he disappeared from your porch and that there's blood here, his family, his friends, they may come looking for you, wanting to know where he is. Do you know what that could mean for you? And he scares her. And so she doesn't file a report. I don't remember if it's the next day or a few days later, but she gets a shipment of books that she has to sign for like pre-orders for her next upcoming novel. And the mailman, she doesn't have a mailbox. So the mailman comes and unloads the boxes directly onto her steps. Well, she helps him take the boxes out and whatever and puts them on the steps. And when he leaves, she notices a small square box that wasn't there or that she didn't see before that doesn't match the rest. And she instinctively knows what's in the box. And sure enough, when she opens it, inside are a pair of hands, severed human hands. And she knows this guy is a sick fuck. She knows she can't tell nobody. So she calls Daya. Together, they agree to just bury the hands. Daya takes the hands and buries them in the woods. What she doesn't know is that Daya was actually being watched by this guy's best friend, who's also a member of that crime syndicate. And he saw her take the hands. He dug up the hands. He dug up the hands and realized that his friend had been killed. And that Addie had something to do with it or was involved in some way. And he's not going to let it go. We don't find that out until nearly the end of the book. Now, from that point on, when the hands show up, she knows that Zaid is a sick fuck and clearly a dangerous guy. She's scared. She's afraid of him, but she still can't stop her mouth from running away with her. Anytime he messages her or breaks into her house, she can't stop herself from mouthing off. Now, it's around this time in the book when we find out that Zaid is actually Z. That Zaid is the head of the organization that infiltrates. Well, we kind of knew it from the beginning of the book when he first sees Addie, or when it first explains where he saw Addie in the bookstore. But it goes into more detail now about what it is that he does. And he's essentially the leader of this organization. He's created this organization from the ground up. And Daya has no idea that her employer is also her best friend's stalker. It just so happened that Zaid was coming into town to get a burger, to get something for dinner, after coming off of a nasty torture session of a drug-pushing sex trafficker guy. And he was coming into town to get something to eat. And he was walking down the main street to go to this diner when he passed the bookstore, and there was a marquee out front that had Adeline's picture on it. And he was stunned still by her author photo, or by her picture that was on the marquee. And he was immediately struck by her image, that he had to go inside the bookstore and look at her. And from that moment on, he's been obsessed with her. That's how he met her. From that point on, he's been following her. He's learned everything he can about her life. And his mission is essentially to wipe out as many sex traffickers as he can, as many child sex rings, as long as he's on this earth. That's basically what he wants to do. So he's employed as many hackers, as many people on the ground as he can get. He finds these people, and then him and teams of people go in and kill them and rescue the victims of these rings. Right now, what he's trying to break into is almost like a cult. Well, it is a cult. It's like a secret society. Fairly recently, a video leaked online of a satanic ritual that was being performed by hooded men on a small child, where they essentially killed the child and then drank the child's blood. It was sickening to watch, and it's haunted him. Since that time, he's made it his mission to find out who they are and take them down. Obviously, he's still working on other things in the meantime while he's investigating, but that is his main goal right now. Since that first video leaked, there have been other videos. One included several other men who were not wearing masks, I guess because they did not feel like they needed to, because they felt like possibly they were above the law, that they didn't think, they were so cocky that they didn't feel like the video could possibly ever leak. There's no way that this would ever see the light of day. They were performing the same ritual, using the same knife, the same props on another child. Clearly members of the same society, except for these men were politicians, well-known, prominent politicians. So now Zaid has a starting point where he can go, where he can start from, to try and figure out who these men are and how to infiltrate this society. So he's trying to get close to this one Senator Mark. And by doing that, he has to appear to be one of them, which is a skeevy pedophile, basically. He's going to the gentleman's club where they hang out and playing cards with them, and etc., blah, 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 blah. All this is happening while he's stalking Adeline. So he basically becomes very buddy-buddy, or attempts to become buddy-buddy with this guy, Mark. He's a senator. He introduces him to the other senators that are in the video that Zaid has. While he's trying to become buddy-buddy with these guys, he's having to visit like the gentleman's club where they hang out, and he witnesses some pretty gross stuff. Like just gross shit, like them putting cigarettes and a cigar burn, like putting their cigars out on like women's arms and shit, like just shit rich white bastards do, right? Like old rich white guys. Gross. So he sees this, and of course it infuriates him. So he wants to smash their faces in, but he can't. He has to stick with it. So he continues to try and get in good with these senator guys. He pretends to be one of them, pretends to have the same predilections that they do. At first, he alludes to having yeah, I like girls and booze and gambling and, but yada, yada. Things a typical rich white guy would be into, like an overprivileged guy would be into, right? But he deliberately lets, like, let's say, a small girl walks by, clearly underage. He deliberately lets his stare linger on the girl, knowing that Mark is watching him. It skeeves him the fuck out, but he does it so that Mark sees it and kind of gets like this inkling that, hey, maybe this guy's into some other shit. Same shit I'm into. I'm gonna keep an eye on him. He wants him to think that, so that eventually he'll be invited to one of these secret societies parties or initiations. So they continue to hang out, him and these senators, or him and Mark. He happens to run into him one day, literally by happen chance, while he's on the way to stalk Addie, where she's sitting at a restaurant. He runs into Mark on the street. Mark's like, whoa, bro, where you off to? And Zaid's like, oh, just, you know, I'm going off into this direction. Well, he's like, well, let's go grab a drink over here at this restaurant. And he's like, fuck, no, I don't want him to go over there, because if he goes over there, I know he's gonna see her and his eyes will stray over there. And I don't want his eyes anywhere near my girl. So he tries to dissuade him to get him to go somewhere else. Mark's not having it. He has no choice but to go with him to the restaurant. Sure enough, the minute they step out onto the patio, even though Zaid positions them at a table where Zaid can't be seen by Addie, Mark can see her. And he's hiding out because up to this point, she's seen him. She knows who he is, Zaid. She knows who Zaid is. But he's still her stalker. He's not like, they've actually spoken. He's been in her house. They've conversated. But they haven't like actually like, you know what I'm saying? Like they haven't had like sex or anything yet. So they don't talk. You know what I mean? Like this is not we don't conversate. So Mark sees her. And sure enough, just as Zaid suspected, Mark pulls out his phone and tries to take a picture of Addie. And Zaid has one of two choices. Let it happen and let Adeline's picture get sent to whoever Mark is trying to send it to. The gross guys in the secret society. Or stop him and give him a good reason as to why he shouldn't do that. And possibly draw more attention to her. Either way, he's fucked, basically. So he grabs the phone. Or puts his hand over the phone and is like, hey, don't take that picture. Delete that picture from your phone. That's my girl you're taking a picture of. And he's like, Mark's like, what? That's your girl? And he's like, yeah, she comes here to work sometimes and I just leave her alone because, you know, she's a writer. So she's it's her process. I don't like to bother her when she's working. And of course, Mark being a dick. Oh no, you gotta go introduce me. She's a writer. Let's go say hi. So he forces Zaid to the table. He basically is like, he's like, hey, Mark. Zaid is behind him making eyes like, you better play along with whatever's happening. She's like, Zaid, what's going on? He literally jumps into the side of the chair, like the booth with her, and puts his arm around her and is like, hey, babe. Kisses her, and she's like, what the fuck? But she plays along, even though she's terrified. And Mark, you know, asks her a couple questions and blah, blah, blah. And eventually, Mark leaves, and he gets like a phone call, and he gets called away. And she looks at Zaid and she's like, what the fuck is going on? You owe me an explanation. You better fucking tell me what's going on. And at first he's like, first of all, I tell you whatever the fuck I want to tell you, because, you know, he has to be like the dominant alpha male. And then he's like, okay, I might as well just tell you. And so he tells her about the video and about the the ring of like basically what he does for a living. And she's like, so you save people? And he's like, I try to, yeah. And this causes obviously inner conflict, because up to this point, like she's seen him as a psycho, like a full-fledged psycho. And now he has redeemable qualities. And like, what am I supposed to do with that? Right? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? So, he continues to attempt to work his way into Mark's inner circles. One night around Halloween, there's like a traveling, almost like you would think like a fair or like a circus type thing that comes around, like a haunted house type traveling fair that comes around every Halloween. And Addie and Daya plan to go. They go every year. This year, Zaid plans to go to follow them, obviously. Well, what he doesn't know is that the senators also plan to go. He finds that out at the last minute and then realizes that, okay, well, this is a good opportunity. I can watch them. So he has his team following, like on intercoms and things, like surveillance, right? While he's there, he catches Mark. Oh, and he overhears Mark on the phone basically orchestrating a plan to snatch Addie and Daya from the fair. When he hears that, he loses it. He traps them in the house, and the assistance of a very psychotic clowny that travels with the circus, with the circus fair thing, they slice and dice the senators. It makes the news. And it's a rage moment for him. Very cathartic, obviously. But he did what he had to do. But before that, he's told by Mark that it wouldn't have mattered if he had called off the kidnapping or not. Addie's name had been down on the list of people to take already prior to him meeting her. And so Zaid doesn't know what to make of that. So he's confused by that. And he doesn't know what part she plays in all of this. He just knows that he has to protect her at all costs. So from this point on, he's like uber paranoid that someone's going to try and snatch her. So he becomes relentless in his pursuit to get into the society. By this time, him and Addie have been together sexually. And she's already told Daya, like, that they've been together. She's like, I know it's fucked up, but there's something about him. He's more than what he appears to be. Now, they're well and truly pretty much an item. They're not sure what they are. There's no labels on it yet. But Adeline and Zaid they're spending a lot of time together. And there are feelings involved. Eventually, he does make it into the night of an initiation. When he gets to the initiation, he is fully calmed up with his team. They're planning to storm this initiation. He has left Addie earlier that day. And up to this point, this is the end of the book, and they've grown very, very close. And he's told her a lot of his personal details, like a lot of his personal life. And by this time, they have solved the murder of who killed her great-grandmother. And it seems like that portion of the book has basically come to a close. And she's at home waiting for him to come back from this initiation. He goes to the initiation. He gets downstairs into this like dungeon area where the initiation is taking place. And all of these robed figures are everywhere. They give him a robe. He dons it. There's a child strapped to an altar. Him and what appear to be several other like new inductees gather around the altar, as well as like obviously several other seasoned society members. They like go to pass out like a hunting knife, the knife that's meant to kill the child. One of the other inductees, the new inductees, goes to reach for it. Obviously, Zaid's not letting that happen. He grabs it first. He plans to use it on the other inductee because this guy's been talking trash about how he wants to sink the blade into the kid and blah, 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 blah. And Zaid's getting ready to lose it. So he's like, his inner monologue is like, you're going to be the guy I fucking kill first. So he grabs the knife. He fake pulls it over his head like he's going to stab the kid. Meanwhile, he's trying really hard not to make eye contact with the child because if he does, he's going to lose it. The kid's falling apart, obviously. He pulls the knife over his head like he's going to plunge. And then instead of stabbing the child, he stabs homeboy over here in the gut. He doubles over. Pandemonium breaks loose. All of his men come swarming in. And all of the robed figures start to flee in every direction you can think of. His men come in with guns blazing. Then all of a sudden, there's like a deafening boom. And he goes flying. There's been a bomb set off from somewhere. That was not part of his plan. So clearly, something is wrong. When he shakes the cobwebs loose from his brain, he looks up to see the guy that he normally hears in his earpiece but doesn't see is running up to him in person. And he's going, "The fuck are you doing here? Why are you here? What's going on? You shouldn't be here." And he's going, "Bro, are you okay? Oh, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know how they knew, but they knew we were coming. It was a trap. It was a setup." And it's at this point when you hear a gun cock against the side of his head. So, well, okay, so it doesn't actually say who it is. He just says you or something to that effect. Then it cuts to a scene with Addie. Addie wakes up from like a nap in her house. She gets several distressful text messages from Daya saying that she's very upset. She really needs to talk to her. Can she come over? Like, can Addie come over to Daya's place? Addie tries to call Daya. Daya doesn't pick up the phone. She calls several more times. Daya doesn't pick up the phone. She starts panicking, jumps in her car, starts to drive to Daya's. Halfway to Daya's, she gets run off the road by another car. Her car flips several times, lands upside down. Two men drag her from the car, and she overhears the name, what the fuck was his name? Max, which is the name of the best friend of the guy whose hands they took. And that's where the book ends, on the cliffhanger. So, bada bing, bada boom. There you go. So yeah. 5 hours later, the end. For the rating for the book, I would give it a solid 9. I actually really liked the book. There were, I don't even think there were any parts that I didn't like. I liked pretty much all of it. I know that there were some people who thought that it was that there were some parts that were kind of like snoozy. I didn't get that. Maybe that was because of the audio. Because I did audio, and because the audio was so well done, I did not think any of this book was boring. I have heard that the second half of the book, of the duet, is very tumultuous and emotional, and then I'm going to get real upset. And I'm not looking forward to that. I'll be honest. Because I don't like books that make me cry. And I don't, I want my fucking HEA. And people know if I don't get my HEA, I will fucking riot. So I've been promised that I'll get my HEA, that I'm just going to have to work for it. I don't like work either. But I suppose I'm already 600 pages in. I might as well just, I gotta fucking finish it, I guess. I gotta finish it, I guess. I'm gonna finish it, okay? So yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, if you like me and you like my channel, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I will link them all in the description box below. Let's try that again, shall we? If you would like, you can follow me on social media. I will link them all in the... You're an idiot. Okay. If you'd like, you can follow me on social media. I will link them all in the description box below, and I'll put a little banner here on the screen for you guys to see. And yeah, I thank you guys for watching and sticking with me for another video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Oh my God. Oh my God, and I literally think that I'm gonna get this video recorded in half an hour. Oh, okay. As if. All right, anyways. Let's be chill. Let's be chill, babies, because if we don't, we're never gonna make it through this alive. All right. Which would be fitting because it's a scary book. It's a spooky book, right? All right, let's just get started, shall we? Yes, let's do that. Here we go. Candace, is your hair messed up? Generally speaking, yes. All right, moving on. Always, right? Okay. Let's get started. Here we go. No, my nose is itching. Of course it is. Always. All right. But my words won't affect. No. Candace, don't you fucking start. I swear to God. You know how to read. Do it properly, okay? I didn't want. Stop it. Stop it. Oh, God. Get your shit together. This is so much. There's so much involved in this fucking book. Oh my God, this fucking rabbit, I swear to God. What she doesn't know is that, God, this is so fucking involved. What time is it? Fuck, I gotta go. So I've been recording in 15, 20-minute segments for the last 12 hours. I wish that was only a slight exaggeration. It's literally only a slight exaggeration. Slight exaggeration. Fuck's sake. God. I am so tired. God. I was gonna do 2 videos and then I realized my copy of Mafia Madman hasn't come yet. So I can't do the review for that. I mean, I could, but I hate doing the whole, here's the cover. I hate that. I hate doing the picture insert. I want the book in my hand. I want to be able to do this for the thumbnail. I hate doing this. I hate that. Anyway, this book is thick. This book is thick. I can see why people are obsessed with Zaid. I liked him a lot, but I don't think, and maybe I'll feel differently after the second half of the duet. Maybe I'll become like legit obsessed, but like I see the appeal for sure. Okay, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Oh, bye-bye.